I feel like there's been more 30-point fantasy performances this year than any season I can remember, man. Hopefully you guys are able to dodge some of them. If not, dude, I'm sorry for you, but let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly from week 9. Talk about some of the stats, quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends who performed well, whether it's going to stick. We're going to start this with quarterbacks. Caleb Williams, dude, going up against the Cincinnati Bengals. They're the gift that keeps on giving. They are Pepto-Bismol. If you're a struggling quarterback, dial 1-800-BENGALS. They are dog shit, dude. It's probably one of the worst secondaries, worst defenses that I've seen in a very long time. And Caleb Williams took advantage, man. He had a get-right game. I dropped him right before this week. I seem to have a superpower. I dropped Caleb Williams. He goes for 40. I dropped Bo Nix a couple of weeks ago. He goes for 40. So I'll let you guys know who I will be dropping this week, and you guys can pick him up. He'll probably go for 40. He pops off. He had a receiving touchdown at the beginning of this game. Ben Johnson was dialing up, trick plays where it was like pass backs to Caleb. He ran for like a 20-yard run on one of these like flea flickers sideways passes. I don't even know how to explain it, dude. Maybe you guys saw it, maybe not. Start your quarterbacks, your running backs, the ball boy, put your grandma in there for a couple touches, man. The Bengals are just super bad. And on that note, Joe Flacco, 38 fantasy points. This is a crazy game. It was like a 90-point total. Unfortunately, if you had Odunze in this game, he got nothing out of 90 points. I don't understand how that's possible. 38.8 fantasy points. I believe 33 in half or in 4-point passing touchdown or 30 or something like that. 47 pass attempts, man. The Bengals, dude, if it was Joe Burrow here, it'd be amazing. But Joe Flacco knows what he's doing. He gets the ball out early. He has weapons. He knows how to use them. He feeds the weapons. He feeds the people that butters his bread. He knows who butters his bread, who signs his paychecks. It's Jamar Chase. It's Higgins. It's Chase Brown now, I guess. So Joe Flacco's great. Rest of the season, I'd be starting him, especially in a 6-point passing touchdown league. He's essentially just an every week starter at this point. And so is Jaxson Dart, man. 30 fantasy points in 4-point passing touchdown. In 4-point passing touchdown leagues, he's even better, right? Because he gets rushing touchdowns pretty much every game. He had 3 total touchdowns. Very efficient versus San Francisco. It's a tough game for them, man. They just don't have the weapons. They really need to make a trade for a wide receiver. And if they do, Jaxson Dart, dude, the sky is the limit for him because, he seems like he makes plays. It's just he gets let down by his team. They don't really have a good running back right now. It's kind of Singletary and Tracy. I don't really know how they're going to go moving forward. I feel like they're going to have to make a move at this deadline. I'm hoping they do. But nevertheless, I'm going to start him every single week, regardless of the matchup. We saw him against Philly, Denver, and Philly those 3 weeks where he was still putting up like 20 fantasy points. So he's an every week starter. He was great in this game in a negative game script. He's passed the eye test, dude. I think he's him. I think he's like a franchise QB rest of the season. If you have him in Dynasty, dude, tip my cap to you. Geno Smith actually had a 30-point fantasy day. Now, Geno Smith is a weird one, man. He can get you 30 fantasy points or he can get you 8, right? Brock Bowers comes back. And Geno Smith, also knew who is buttering his bread. He just fed Brock Bowers. He had a massive game. And Geno Smith also did, right? He exploded. Jacksonville Jaguars defense is officially bad. To start the season, they looked pretty good. They were like a decent defense, but they're bad. This Jaguars team, they keep winning, letting the Raiders almost beat you, and Geno Smith dropped like 30 fantasy points. It's just, you can't have that, man, if you want to be like a contending team in the playoffs. He's got 2 games over 30, and Josh Allen doesn't have any games over 30 fantasy points. So that's kind of an interesting stat there. Matt Stafford continues his MVP case for the Rams. 3 touchdowns, top 5 finish. He lit up this very beatable New Orleans secondary. I mean, let's be honest, dude. The Saints didn't really have a chance against the Rams. I mean, Tyler Shuck, he was serviceable. He looked good. He made a couple of nice plays. They hung in there for a little bit. It was like 10-20 going into the third quarter. But I just love the Rams, dude. They get to the goal line. They get within the 5. And it's not just run the ball every time. Matt Stafford's throwing like fades to Devontae Adams. He had a dope-ass fucking touchdown to Puka Nacua. It was like a 38-yarder. That was an amazing play, amazing catch by Puka. Devontae Adams is feeling himself. Devontae Adams has like 15 end zone targets at this point. It's actually kind of pisses me off because I have Puka Nacua. But Stafford was great, dude. Again, he's another quarterback where you can pretty much put him into your lineups every single week because it's not so run heavy, right? It's not Kyron getting 16, 17 touchdowns over the course of the season, right? Like they're really just leaning on Stafford this year. And I love to see it, dude. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time. Probably one of the most underrated. Great game. Drake Maye continues to be an Exodia quarterback, as a lot of fantasy people put it. Just a really good quarterback with rushing upside, making all the right plays. Fantastic at like the deep ball, dude. He's just one of the better quarterbacks in fantasy football at the moment. Just one of the better quarterbacks in general, dude. Like he's honestly just like efficient, doesn't have like crazy pass volume, but he gets fantasy points. He can get you rushing touchdowns. He had 27 fantasy points in this one. It's just a balanced offense. They have like decent weapons around him, but he's just making plays, man. He is really the engine of this team. Absolutely great game by him. Sam Darnold last night, dude, 4 touchdowns in a single half, 330 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. He ends the game with probably the best quarterback in the NFL statistically at the moment. Like from week 1 until now, PFF, which I don't know if you guys trust them, but they do these player grades every single week. And Sam Darnold has been a perennial number one, like 90 plus PFF graded quarterback. He makes all the right plays. He's in a fantastic system with a great coach. And it's just a really good offense. He just like Joe Flacco, he knows who's paying his bills, man. It is JSN. The occasional deep bomb. Torrey Horton had like 2 touchdowns. AJ Barner had a rushing touchdown, I believe. He just looks great, man. It's a great offense. It's balanced. They have the run game is pretty decent. Does just enough to keep defenses honest. And he looks great. I think he's also like an every week starter. He's going to have his down games where the run game really takes precedent and takes kind of like the front seat. And he's going to have to take the back seat just consequently. But he looks great. Sam Darnold is great. Those are the good quarterbacks. Now let's talk about running backs, guys. Rico Dowdle, dude. Look. I'm gonna eat a bag of dicks. I'm gonna eat a fart on this one. I've been kind of poo-pooing on Rico Dowdle all season. I said that the 500 all-purpose yards against the Dolphins and Cowboys was fake, and against the Green Bay Packers, I was telling people to fade him. I was like, dude, I don't like the matchup. I know he's gonna be the starter, but it's gonna be tough, dude. No running back has really performed against them. I'll take the L. 30 fantasy points, probably the number 3 running back on the week, I believe. 25 carries, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also gets 2 catches, so he's getting receiving work. Chuba Hubbard, I think, is probably droppable. I think he's just a handcuff at this point, right? If you're in like a shallow league, you can't hold handcuffs, right? If you need like starters, you probably just drop Chuba Hubbard. Rico Dowdle looks great. His yards per carry is fantastic. He's making plays. He's breaking tackles. He's getting goal line work. Now, I had Rico Dowdle as a trade for candidate despite my hate for him because I knew where this was headed, dude. I knew that the team was just going to slowly get more and more pressure to make him the starter. Kyle, Mr. Money Guy, dude, 31 fantasy points, 26 carries for 176 yards, 3 catches for 22 yards. He looked great. He was breaking tackles. He was making plays that DeAndre Swift usually wouldn't make, dude. He just has better vision. I'm not saying he's more talented as Swift. I think Swift has a lot more like explosive play potential. Let's keep in mind this is a very easy matchup. It was the Bengals, as I mentioned. But nevertheless, dude, he took advantage of the opportunity, right? I don't think they're going to just completely give him the backfield. DeAndre Swift is injured, dude. You usually don't lose your job to injury. But Kyle Monangai looked great. I think rest of the season, the Chicago Bears offense is going to be very annoying if you have like I have Odunze, and I'm heavily annoyed, dude. I'm heavily annoyed at the usage. He had 0 catches. He had a dropped touchdown. And Kyle Moneyguy was just the guy that was money for them all game. Moving forward, I would still say that it's going to be like a 50-50 split with DeAndre Swift. But maybe Kyle Moneyguy takes a little bit more of the early down, maybe even goal line stuff, right? Because Swift has never really been a goal line back. So moving forward, if you have him, keep him. Let's see what happens with Swift. We just have to see what his usage is going to be, what his role is. Chase Brown up next. I'm not going to keep victory lapping it. Listen, he was bad most of this game. He kind of got a lot of garbage time, like hurry up offense. Samaje Perine had an ankle injury, went out of the game. And it was just Chase Brown, dude. They just fed him. He had like 13 or 14 targets, I believe. I don't have it off the top of my head. Had some drops or some like, bad passes. He had 8 receptions in this game, guys. 16 fantasy points, doesn't get a touchdown, unfortunately, in a game where there were so many fucking touchdowns being scored. He had a couple goal line carries. None of them turned into touchdowns. The Bears were really selling out to stop the run, which doesn't make any sense to me because you have T. Higgins and Chase, but nevertheless, he's emerging. If Samaje Perine's ankle is going to linger, they have a bye week, so he's got like 2 weeks to get healthy, which kind of sucks for a Chase Brown owner. I would have loved to see another game with just Chase Brown as like the workhorse running back. There's the bye. Let's get some more info, dude. I need to see what's up with Samaje Perine. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe, so that when we talk about some of these injuries and some of these like stashes, right? We're probably going to talk about Chase Brown, dude. He's somebody that I've heavily invested in and talked about a lot on this channel. So make sure you guys subscribe so that you catch that. Aaron Jones, nice game. Only 12 fantasy points, but he dominated the snaps. Jordan Mason was a complete non-factor, and Aaron Jones actually looked really good. And he had an injury. I don't know what the injury was, but he was on the sideline kind of working through it. It didn't look like a really bad injury where it could be like, week to week where he's out a couple more weeks again. The problem with Aaron Jones is that he's absolutely great when he's on the field. He just can't stay on the field, man. But we love the usage. RJ Harvey up next, 13.9 fantasy points. Gets another touchdown, dude. He's a very active receiver for this team, man. And look, I've been poo-pooing. I don't know why it says Houston here. You guys are watching production live here. So yeah, 13.9 fantasy points, touchdown streak alive. Active as a receiver. He's getting catches, dude. He keeps getting touchdowns. J.K. Dobbins is someone that's really one-dimensional. He's an early down back. He's a good early down back. But, when this team is in hurry-up offense, RJ Harvey's just a much more dynamic player to have. So if you have RJ Harvey, I'd actually feel pretty good about it as like a flex play. I don't know if we can really rely on him as like an RB2 or like an RB3, right? It's just tough because if the game script doesn't go their way, which, the Broncos have a really good defense, they have a pretty decent offense. It's competent, right? So I imagine mostly neutral or winning game scripts, which is like, it's really a dart throw play at that point. TreVeyon Henderson, Henderson for the Patriots. He is the workhorse back in this one, 75% of snaps, 6 targets, 32 receiving yards, only 10 fantasy points. Terrell Harris or Terrell Edwards, I don't even know his name, the backup for the Patriots. He gets the goal line touchdown. He vultures it from TreVeyon, who was looking great in that game. It was just poetic, dude. If you have TreVeyon Henderson and you watched Terrell Smith, whatever his name is, come in and steal that touchdown, it was like, of course it was going to happen. We kind of knew it, right? We heard the buzz leading up to the game that they love, Terrell Smith or Terrell Johnson. I don't even know what his name is. And but TreVeyon Henderson showed us that he got enough work. I think we can be a little bit optimistic here. Most of his damage came on outside runs yet again. In the Discord, I linked a chart or a tweet that was all about how he's bad as an inside runner and really good as an outside runner. And that was kind of the theory. And because of that, we should be kind of timid about using him. And that's why probably the team was timid about using him as like a workhorse running back. And we saw it again, man. He was really good on outside runs. He was gashing teams. That's just kind of the player he is, right? He's great at getting to the boundaries and getting like explosive plays through that. Next up, we got wide receivers, guys. We'll speed this up a little bit. T. Higgins, 31 fantasy points, 7 catches, 121 yards, 2 touchdowns, 9 targets. Again, game script, this is just a 90-point game, so somebody was bound to pop off. It could have easily been chasing this one, but T. Higgins was absolutely phenomenal, dude. One of his touchdowns, it was like the defender had the better position, and he just kind of like pushes the defender away, goes over him, catches it, and scores a touchdown on it. T. Higgins is legitimately one of the better hands catchers in the NFL, dude. Anything that comes in his vicinity, he's catching that shit. He had another touchdown later in the game, which is another like tight window catch where he catches it, kind of like goes into the end zone. They called it not a touchdown at first. It was clearly a touchdown. And it was, man. It kind of sucks. I was a Chase Brown owner. I would have loved to get that goal line snap. Great game. Moving forward, as long as Joe Flacco is the quarterback, you're starting T. Higgins without even thinking about it. Drake London, crazy ass game, dude. Drake London was mossing people. Drake London was looking like Calvin Johnson out there, dude. 36.8 fantasy points, probably the wide receiver one on the week, most likely. 9 for 118 and 3 touchdowns. He was amazing, dude. There was one play they did like a pick and roll, dude, and there was like a 5'8", 180-pound cornerback defending him. Goes up, mosses him, dick on shoulder, balls on shoulder, looks down at him, little boys him. He's just, dude, he's such a good wide receiver. I don't know why they don't give him 9 to 10 targets a game. He'd be a league-winning wide receiver. Drake London had all the metrics before the season, man. We had him as like a league-winning wide receiver. He had all the metrics to be that 16 to 20 fantasy point per game guy. And I think he can actually hit it next, rest of the season. This Falcons defense has really tapered off. They're not the same defense they were earlier in the season, which means they might be in more shootouts. And that's really good for Drake London, man. Parker Washington, I guess the new fucking alpha wide receiver for the Jaguars. I don't know what Brian Thomas did to Liam Cohen's wife, but look, man, even when Brian Thomas was healthy, it was Parker, it was Diami Brown, it was even fucking Hunter Long, dude, who looked like he had a season-ending injury and comes back and still out-targets Brian Thomas. It's ridiculous. But honestly, man, I don't hold it against Brian Thomas. I hold it against Liam Cohen, bro. It's hands on sight if I ever meet that man. Jameson Williams also has a decent little game here, dude. 13 fantasy points. He's a boomer bust player, dude. He's someone that you put in your flex, you hope that's the week that he actually gets the bomb touchdown. There were some tea leaves, man, that we could read. During the bye week, they were saying that they've kind of done him dirty. They haven't been using him enough. They kind of feel bad about his usage and they want to get him going. I think going into the third quarter, he had like negative fantasy points. He had like 1 catch for negative 2 yards. Amon-Ra St. Brown gets a little banged up, I believe. And then Jameson Williams really pops off. They were playing catch up against the Vikings, which I did not see coming. And he ends the game with 16 fantasy points, I believe 13 and a half PPR. Had a really, really, really nice touchdown. If Amon-Ra St. Brown misses any time, Jameson Williams becomes like a must-start guy, obviously, but it's still just going to be Amon-Ra, Laporta, Gibbs, Montgomery. There's just a weird game where Gibbs and Montgomery weren't really useful. They were playing from behind. Montgomery was actually the better running back to play in this game. I just don't think that's going to continue. Christian Watson, guys, holy shit, he was a mustache player for me a couple weeks ago. 2 weeks in a row. 10 fantasy points. He gets banged up again, dude. He just Christian Watson and getting injured are like spaghetti and meatballs. It's like peanut butter and jelly. As long as Christian Watson breathes and exists, the man will get injured. He can retire tomorrow and still get football related injuries. I swear to God. But still contributed. He had like a couple deep bomb catches. That's kind of what the role he's just going to be playing. Rest in peace to Matthew Golden. If you have him, he's essentially droppable at this point. Christian Watson stole his lunch money, took his girlfriend, dude. Christian Watson took this man's job, essentially. Matthew Golden, I don't know why you would draft a guy in the first round who you're going to make like your wide receiver for. And Matthew Golden got injured in this game. So, Watson's injured. I guess Dubs is kind of the only guy you're really excited about. But nevertheless, good game. I don't think it's going to be like a multi-week absence. He could probably even play next week. Demario Douglas pops up as well here. Gets like a long 50-yard touchdown. he was falling the entire time. It must be the longest touchdown run where the dude was in free fall. He was literally falling the whole time. He'd get straight and keep falling, dude. I just, that shit was hilarious. But Demario Douglas, man, he's a nice little interesting player here where he's always been a good player. He's always somebody that this team really loves. The problem really is just that it's a well-oiled machine. Everybody kind of gets a turn. Stephon Diggs had a touchdown. Boute's got his touchdowns, but Boute got injured. Right. So if Boute is injured moving forward, I do like Demario Douglas in this offense. At the end of the day, you want pieces of a good offense. All right, guys, tight ends, Brock Bowers, man, he is him. 43.5 fantasy points. He had 13 targets, 3 touchdowns. This is just a Brock Bowers game. No one else did shit on the Raiders. Geno Smith only has eyes for Bowers. If you have Bowers and you waited on him, you're probably 2-6, but you're making a run for the playoffs now. You can probably win. Now, if this type of usage keeps up and he keeps getting the end zone targets, the problem with Bowers last season, he had one of the better rookie seasons for a tight end. He didn't get a lot of touchdowns. So that was like the one thing holding him back. If he's going to start getting fucking, multi-touchdown games plus the yardage and receptions that he gets, I mean, he's essentially like a top 5 fantasy player all around. Like, forget positional, just all around. He's somebody that can maybe get 20 fantasy points a game. So I don't know, man. If you have Brock Bowers, I'd be super happy, super stoked about the usage. Colston Loveland, 31 fantasy points. He had a game-winning touchdown. It was like a 56-yard touchdown where every single Bengals player just forgot how to play football. They forgot how to tackle. 7 over 121 and 2 touchdowns, 9 targets. I will say he should have done this last week, man, on National Tight End Week when Cole Kmet was actually injured. Cole Kmet is back in this game, and then he does this. So we got to feel pretty good about Loveland moving forward. I will say, though, man, Odunze had a really tough matchup against the Bengals rookie cornerback who's really good. And Odunze was pretty much a non-factor. They didn't even really look his way because of that. I guess they watched the tape leading up to the game and they're like, all right, we got to go away from this guy and just get other guys involved. So it was a DJ Moore, Loveland, and even Olamide Zaccheaus game, dude. So Dalton Kincaid was sitting on my waiver wire. I decided to ignore him and pick up Ertz because I thought he had a better matchup. I am bad at fantasy football. Do not listen to anything I say. 22 fantasy points, 6 for 101 and a touchdown. Look, man, this was the first game where he had the touchdown and the big yardage. Josh Allen was essentially just beasting and feasting early in this game, and Kincaid was just chunking them. He had like a 50-yard catch and run at one point. It was a bad matchup, dude. The Kansas City Chiefs are usually pretty good against tight ends, but Dalton Kincaid, at the end of the day, I think he has like the best role on this offense. Like Khalil Shakir, although is also a heavily targeted player, everything he gets is around the line of scrimmage, while Kincaid actually gets like the inseam stuff, right? Like down the field stuff where he can actually create after the catch. Khalil Shakir, also really good yards after the catch, but all his stuff is so close to the line of scrimmage that if he doesn't bust one like he did in the last week, he's just not going to bring us any kind of production in half PPR or even standard, right? Dalton Schultz is really just a guy, man, but he had 14 fantasy points, bounced back after a quiet game. Once we said to start him, he did jack shit. Then when everybody drops him and forgets about him, he goes for 14 fantasy points yet again. At the end of the day, he's just a safety valve for this team. And when Davis Mills came in, quarterbacks that aren't really confident or, not full-time starters, they usually just kind of check down to the tight end a lot. Juwaan Johnson, I don't know if we're going to chase it, but he had 13 fantasy points. He was a surprise leader in the passing game. I was honestly saying to bench Olave and Rashid. I just don't really want to start players against the Rams. They're a legit defense. They get pressure. They can defend the wide receivers. So naturally, the tight end, Johnson kind of popped off in this game. But all right, next we got the bad, dude. Let's talk about the players that let us down, starting with Addison, only 2 for 48, 4 targets. He's just not getting enough volume, man. JJ McCarthy's debut didn't really pass the ball very much. They were running the ball a lot. They were winning this game. And that's something that is a little bit concerning. I wouldn't say I'd be sitting Addison because at the end of the day, he's still like a huge part of this offense. But if it's Aaron Jones, if it's Hawkinson, if Jettis is there, it's just going to be tough, man. I don't know if we're going to be able to rely on him. He's kind of going to be a little bit boom or bust. But, before this, he had a bunch of really good games in a row. So I wouldn't be too down on him moving forward. All right, next we got Rome 0 Odunze with 0 receptions, now under 6 PPR points in 3 of the last 4 games. He dropped a touchdown pass in this one. This was a matchup that was great. He is like their man beater, and they had a really good cover corner on him. It was just a tough game. It was a tough game where I think the game plan was to just stay away from the cornerback that was defending him. Obviously, he drops the touchdown pass. It was thrown behind him. They get the Giants next week. Usage is trending down, bro. At the beginning of the season, he was getting, 9 targets a game or so. Now he's averaging about like 6 targets a game. And with this one, it's probably going to be even less now. His averages are going to be a lot worse. With the emergence of Loveland, with Kyle Monangai emerging, with DeAndre Swift still being good and actually being really good for them, this is an offense, dude. There's too many weapons, too many mouths to feed. DJ Moore's bitch ass was pouting the entire beginning of the season, visibly looking upset and angry, even though his teammate Rome Odunze was feasting. And the team, the squeaky wheel got the grease. DJ Moore has been getting much more involved now. As a Rome Odunze owner, that pisses me off, but that's just how it is, man. Like, at the end of the day, DJ Moore isn't a bum, right? So he was complaining early in the season, and they're using him a lot more. And he was getting end arounds. He had a touchdown that was almost a fumble that turned into a touchdown. So I think better days are ahead for Rome Odunze, but he's not going to be the top 12 guy that I think we were ranking him as the rest of the season. There's just too many mouths to feed on this team. All right, Keenan Allen, dude, another loser. 3 targets, under 11 PPR points in 5 of the last 6 games. His usage and his snaps are trending down. Low volume passing offense lately, under 30 attempts in 2 straight games. I mean, it was winning game scripts, right? But he's essentially a touchdown dependent wide receiver 3 now. And I'm going to be really like sketched out starting him, man. I think in better matchups where they're potentially losing the game, if it's zone coverage, that's when you really want to start Keenan Allen. Our James Cook, man, 1 catch in the last 4 games. Still had a decent day on the ground. He had over 100 rushing yards against a really good defense. Keep in mind, he's just not getting the receiving work that would put him up into like the top 5. At the end of the day, he's on a good team. He's got that like 2-3 touchdown potential any given week in good game scripts when they want to just lean on him. But, his ceiling is really kind of capped if he's not going to get receiving work, which is really kind of his bread and butter. That's really what he was very good at earlier on in his career. Then we got Jordan Love, dude, 37 pass attempts, but it was still a dud. Next, they got Philadelphia. I think I would probably bench him against Philadelphia if I'm honest. Just 2 games over 17 fantasy points in the last 6 games. So Jordan Love is someone where in good matchups, and I guess when Josh Jacobs is injured, you can start him. But otherwise, he's just not a startable quarterback, to be honest. It's a team that's way too balanced. They want to run the ball. And in, bad matchups, he seems to really struggle, man. So he's somebody that I wouldn't feel super confident. At the end of the day, you want to start a quarterback who's got a safe floor, knowing that you're going to get at least your 15 fantasy points from them. All right, guys, let's talk about some of the injuries. We got CJ Stroud, concussion. Most likely he misses. It's about a 50-50 chance that he could play in this one. Aaron Jones, he has a shoulder injury. He feels fine. That's what he said, quoted. But, we need to monitor it and see what happens. T. Higgins left with a possible concussion. We don't really know. He took a big hit, and there's a bye week in week 10. So that's really good. I expect him back in week 11. Brian Thomas Jr., I saw speculation that it's maybe a high ankle sprain. Hopefully not. We'll see, though, man. It looked like he was on the sideline getting taped up, like he was maybe going to try to come back in the game, but he ended up not returning. So that makes me think maybe it wasn't a high ankle sprain. I will say high ankle sprains are weird, man. Sometimes players feel like they could play on it because it's just a weird injury, but as time goes on, it gets really swollen. The pain really increases as kind of the adrenaline wears down. So if it's a high ankle sprain, I guess we're going to have to bench him. That might actually be a good thing for us. And then we got Matthew Golden, Kayshon Boutte, Christian Watson, Tucker Kraft, and Cole Kmet. All got banged up as well. These are guys we need to monitor and see what the situation is. Tucker Kraft looks like it might be an ACL injury out for the season. Cole Kmet, he was also banged up in the game, which means Colston Loveland is just going to be a smash play every week. And yeah, man, we kind of already talked about Golden, Boutte, and Christian Watson. That does it for the video, guys. Thank you for being here. I genuinely appreciate it. Thank you for giving me your time. If you guys want to join the Discord, the link will be down below. It is a dope community of people talking ball every single day. We help each other with sit starts. If you guys like this video and you want to catch more of this, a like is the best way to show support to a single creator like myself. And then subscribe if you want to catch more of it. It really helps the channel grow. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.